back your homes or restore your dead to life.
But perhaps I can give you justice in the name of our king.
Hey everyone, this video is going to be the second episode of the Companion Podcast. We will be going over Season 1, Episode 2, and I will be hosting this podcast alone today. So if you haven't checked out the first installment, I'll link it here so you can go check it out. With that being said, there will be spoilers present, so if you're not caught up with the series, you may want to click off the video. Anyway, let's get started. Alright, before we get into the episode, let's discuss some current events. So far, HBO hasn't released a full complete trailer for Season 7 yet. We have a few promos, but not anything that really digs into the new storyline. We are officially under 2 months away from the premiere, so keep your eyes on the lookout for a fresh trailer to be released sometime in the coming days. HBO has, however, spoken about developing multiple Game of Thrones spin-offs, 4 to be exact. George R.R. Martin has stated that the Tales of Dunk and Egg is not one of the possible spin-offs. He said there wasn't enough material written yet to make it a viable option for the next big fantasy show. He plans to have somewhere between 6 and 12 total books in the collection before it's complete. The second spin-off possibility that Martin dismissed was Robert's Rebellion. Now, a lot of fans wanted the Rebellion as the next series following after Game of Thrones. Martin said that by the time he finishes the last 2 novels of A Song of Ice and Fire, we would know every important thing that happened in that timeline. This is great news. If the producers know the direction that GRRM is going in, which they obviously do, then it could mean the show will explain a good deal about that time period. For example, Rhaegar. We have yet to see the late Targaryen prince in the show, and with him being such an impactful character in the story, you would think his character would appear in the final seasons. I think that's my big hope for Season 7. I really want to see Bran using his green sight to go back in visions and continue to learn about the history of the world. Since his visions focus mainly on Robert's Rebellion, I hope we finally get to see Jon's real father, Rhaegar. Anyway, there's tons more news out there, but I'll just leave it at that for now. Let's move on to the episode. So the second episode of Season 1 is called The Kingsroad. The title does a great job of summarizing the events. The main plotline at this point is Lord Eddard Stark traveling south down the Kingsroad. The road leads straight to King's Landing, which roughly takes about a month to get to. He's with King Robert, the royal family, and his daughters Arya and Sansa. We also get a first look at Tyrion and Joffrey's relationship. Tyrion wakes up from a long night of drinking in a dog kennel in Winterfell. Joffrey is there making fun of his uncle. Tyrion, who's not too impressed, slaps Joffrey and talks down to him. It's really cool watching this happen for the first time on screen. We know Joffrey goes on to become an evil and sadistic ruler, one that even his mother can't get control of. And I wonder if all of the teasing that Tyrion does to Joffrey as a young child, I bet that has something to do with why he goes so crazy. Alright, next we have Bran Stark. Bran hasn't awakened from his coma yet, and after hearing from Tyrion that the boy may actually live, Queen Cersei goes to see him. Cersei talks to Lady Stark about a child she had with Robert. Apparently, the baby looked just like Robert, meaning the baby didn't have blonde hair. This reminded me of a popular theory about Gendry being the son of Cersei and Robert. We know that Gendry is Robert's bastard, and according to the story the young blacksmith told to Ned Stark, his mother had blonde hair. He doesn't really remember much about her other than how much she loved him, and he also mentioned she used to sing to him. A lot of fans believe Cersei's child may have been Gendry. In the story, she tells Catelyn Stark the baby died of fever, and when his body was taken away from her, she never saw him again, and she never visited him in the crypts. I'm pretty confident that Gendry isn't Cersei's son, but there is a little bit of evidence supporting the theory. In the last Companion podcast, we talked about the handshake between Jaime and Jon, as well as some other episode 2 information, so I'll skip by that for now. One really important thing that happens during a conversation between King Robert and Eddard Stark is when they sit down to eat, Robert brings up the wet nurse who Eddard supposedly slept with and had baby Jon with. He calls her Wylla. We know 6 seasons later that Ned was actually lying to Robert, and Jon's true mother is actually Lyanna Stark, Ned's sister, and the woman who Robert obsessed over. Alright, let's take a break and answer some random questions from you guys on social media. With the Tyrell alliance over, whatever happened to the Lannisters being broke? Or was Tywin playing Cersei? Great question. I don't think Tywin was playing Cersei. I think the Lannisters did actually go broke. I can't really remember exactly when Tywin says it, but he tells Cersei that the mines at Casterly Rock have dried up. The Lannisters are known for being one of the most wealthy houses in Westeros, if not the most wealthy. Tywin shelled out a lot of the family gold to help fund the crown during Robert's reign, which was long and expensive. Now that they're not benefiting from the Tyrell's checkbook, they have to look for other means to get by. Cersei holds the Red Keep, and until Queen Dany gets over there with her dragons, she's probably going to have no problem keeping her seat on the Iron Throne. I don't know exactly how broke they are, but with the level of corruption the Lannisters bring to the table, it wouldn't be hard to continue getting things done in their favor. Anyways, that's my answer to the question. I definitely don't think Tywin was lying to Cersei. Okay, next question. What if a true Targaryen turns into a White Walker? Can he or she be burnt? As for Dany in the show, it doesn't look like she can be burnt. In the first episode of season 1, she walks into the hot bath, and her handmaiden clearly says that it's too hot. She escapes unharmed, and then later on in the season, at the very end, her and her newborn dragon survived the fire in Khal Drogo's funeral. And then fast forward to season 6, she finds herself in a burning structure and escapes unburnt once again. In the book series, it's a little bit different. George R.R. Martin has stated that Daenerys isn't immune to fire. It takes something more to be able to protect against fire, some type of magic ritual or something like that. So anytime that we see Dany being unburnt in the show, we have to either say that it's just not 100% factual according to the source material, or every other event had the magical properties to give her that ability. I guess that's the best way I can say it. Now, if we're talking about somebody like Jon Snow, who's half Targaryen, half Stark, he's already died once. So if he's already died once, is he vulnerable to the Night King? Let's say he goes north in season 7 and encounters the Night King or a White Walker and he gets stabbed. The question is, can Jon die again since he's already died once? And regardless if he can or cannot die, is he vulnerable to the power of the Night King, or even Bran Stark for that matter? Unfortunately, that's something completely different. Will Jaime slay Cersei if she commands to burn King's Landing or something with wildfire? This is really good too. So what a lot of these questions have in common is, will history repeat itself? Like, will the Long Night happen again? Or is this winter just the Long Night from a long time ago, but from a different perspective? So I'm not so sure about all of that. Jaime slayed the Mad King when the Mad King ordered for King's Landing to be burned with wildfire. So let's go 20 years down the road and say that he's going to do the same thing with his twin sister Cersei, if Cersei gets out of control and decides to just burn the whole city down, just like in the past. There's a prophecy that Cersei will be strangled to death by the hands of the Valonqar. Now, the Valonqar translates into a gender-neutral term, so it doesn't necessarily have to mean that it's going to be a little brother, whether it's her younger twin Jaime or her younger imp brother Tyrion. A lot of people have theories that Arya Stark is going to take the face of somebody in the Red Keep and access Cersei and strangle her, maybe with the face of Tyrion or the face of Jaime, if one of those characters were to die and she was somehow able to use their face as a mask. I think it would be a little bit too much poetic justice if Jaime did slay Cersei, as she makes the same order that the Mad King made years prior. I think it's interesting, and I definitely think Jaime has some hand in the involvement of Cersei's death. That's just what I think, and I think they're going to die together, because in the book series, Cersei and Jaime always talk about entering the world together and leaving the world together. So those are just my thoughts. Diving back into episode 2, Jon and Eddard depart from one another, heading in different directions. Ned tells Jon that the next time he sees him, they'll talk about his mother. Unfortunately, the two never see each other again. In an HBO release of the new costumes the season 7 cast would be wearing, you can find a picture of Jon. He's in the crypts under Winterfell, a place that he has nightmares of in the crypts. I can't recall the exact quote offhand, but it's something along the lines of, "There was something leading me down there, I'm just too scared to find out." In the book series, Ned Stark's bones haven't quite made it to Winterfell, But in the show, I'm pretty sure we are to assume that Ned's bones are in the crypts. If Jon visits his father's tomb, I wonder if something special will catch his eye. Whether it's a statue engraved for Jon stating his true bloodline to Lyanna and Rhaegar, or if there's another secret hiding down there. Maybe the next time Jon sees Ned down in the crypts, he will discover the truth about his past. I'm just thinking too much into it, I'm sure. In the east, Dany is riding on horseback with her tribe. She's married to Khal Drogo, and at first it's a very one-sided relationship, until Dany gets instruction from one of her handmaidens. On the Kingsroad, Nymeria, Arya's dire wolf, bites Joffrey, and then is chased off by Arya because she knows the royal family will harm the wolf if she sticks around. Unfortunately, Sansa's wolf Lady pays the price for Nymeria biting the prince. There's a few things that also take place, like Bran almost being assassinated by a guy who reminds me of Stannis Baratheon, and then at the end, him finally waking up from his coma. The episode is still introducing characters and their specific plot lines to the show, so we weren't overwhelmed with too much lore or anything. That's going to do it for now. In the future, we will be posting 20 to 30 minute videos in the companion series, catching everyone up before season 7 airs in July. If you liked anything you heard today, please feel free to subscribe and follow us on Twitter and Instagram for more Game of Thrones news and lore. Alright everyone, thanks for watching. As always, have a great day, take care, and I will see you tomorrow.